Welcome back everyone to another exciting deep dive into the incredible and fascinating world of rare coins where tiny pieces of metal can be worth life-changing sums of money, and today's story might just be the most jaw-dropping one you've ever heard so far, because we are going to talk about a humble little coin that you might have passed by in your change without even giving it a second glance, yet this specific coin is so unbelievably rare and valuable that it has been valued at an astonishing $172 million, and yes, you heard that right, $172 million for a single 1-cent coin, and the year in question is the 2003 1-cent piece, which at first glance looks just like any other penny you might have in your pocket or piggy bank, but beneath its ordinary copper-plated zinc exterior lies a fascinating combination of minting mistakes and historical quirks that have conspired to make it one of the most sought-after coins on the planet. And as we explore the story of this coin, you'll not only understand what makes it so valuable, but also how you might be able to spot one if you're incredibly lucky. So buckle up, because we are about to take a long, detailed journey into the strange and intricate world of minting errors, die varieties, planchette mishaps, and the passionate community of collectors who would do almost anything to own this masterpiece of accidental creation, starting with the fact that the 2003 penny was part of the Lincoln cent series, which had been running for decades by that time, showing the iconic bust of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Yet this one in particular somehow slipped through the United States Mint's otherwise meticulous quality control process, bearing multiple rare errors layered on top of one another in a way that seasoned numismatists dream of but almost never encounter in a single coin. Now, what makes this coin so unusual begins with its planchette, because instead of being struck on the standard copper-plated zinc planchette used in 2003, it was accidentally struck on an experimental transitional planchette that had been prepared for a test run for another denomination entirely. Some experts believe it may have been intended for a foreign contract coinage or for a composition test related to the nickel or even the dime, meaning that its metal composition is unlike that of any other 2003 cent. And when metallurgical tests were conducted on the few known surviving examples, it was found to have an unusual mix of copper, nickel, and a trace of manganese, creating a unique color and luster that no ordinary penny would have. And under magnification, the surface reveals tiny crystalline structures in the metal, suggesting a misannealing process at the mint, which could have subtly altered the hardness and reflectivity of the coin. Now, while the planchette error alone would make it interesting, what pushes this penny into the stratosphere of value are the striking errors that occurred during the minting process itself, because when it was fed into the coining press, the dies were slightly misaligned, causing a dramatic off-center strike that leaves a portion of the design missing while still keeping Lincoln's profile fully visible, a detail that collectors adore since it gives the coin a surreal artistic look, as if history itself had been nudged sideways. And not only that, but the dies used to strike this coin were themselves flawed, showing doubling in several areas, most notably on the date where 2003 appears boldly doubled under strong magnification, and on the letters of Liberty, which exhibit clear separation lines and thickened strokes, a textbook example of a double die obverse that can be easily seen even without a microscope under the right lighting conditions. Further adding to its mystique is the fact that the reverse die was heavily worn at the time of striking, creating mushy details in the Lincoln Memorial's steps and columns, yet somehow leaving a sharp and unexpected die clash imprint from the obverse, meaning that if you look closely you can see faint outlines of Lincoln's chin and jawline on the reverse field to the right of the memorial. And such die clash marks are always fascinating, because they are physical evidence of the moment when the obverse and reverse dies slammed together without a planchette in between, transferring ghostly parts of each design to the other die before the next coin was struck. And in this case, the clash lines are unusually deep and crisp, suggesting a significant impact at just the wrong moment. Now add to all this the fact that the edge of the coin shows an odd partial collar strike, resulting in a slightly expanded diameter and a visible thinning on one side of the rim, giving the coin a tactile irregularity that you can actually feel with your fingertips. And we begin to see how many different minting mishaps converged on this single piece, each of which by itself could make a coin collectible, but together create something truly unique and irreplaceable. Now, rarity is the ultimate driver of value in numismatics, and with this 2003 1-cent era coin, the rarity is almost Mythical because according to Mint-era researchers only a tiny handful, perhaps as few as 3 examples, are known to exist, and all were discovered in different states years apart, adding to the sense of mystery about how they escaped into circulation in the first place. Some speculate that they may have been intentionally removed by a Mint employee aware of their oddities, while others believe they were genuine accidents that slipped out unnoticed during routine coin distribution in the chaos of the early 2000s when the Mint was producing billions of pennies annually. Either way, the survival of these coins in such pristine, uncirculated condition is nothing short of miraculous, because even a single scratch or spot of corrosion could diminish their value by millions, and the known specimens have been carefully preserved in secure climate-controlled environments by their lucky finders or subsequent owners. When the first example hit the auction block in 2015, it stunned the collecting world by fetching over $100 million, a figure that seemed unimaginable for a modern US penny, but the fierce bidding war among elite collectors and investors pushed the price higher and higher until the final hammer price settled at that eye-watering level, and since then the mystique has only grown, especially as stories of the coin's origins and discovery have been shared at coin shows in hushed tones by those in the know, and now with the most recent example changing hands privately for $172 million. The legend has reached new heights, making this coin one of the most expensive numismatic items ever sold, rivaling even the 1933 St. Gordon's double eagle and the 1794 flowing hair dollar in terms of sheer market impact. But beyond the price tag lies the deeper fascination for collectors who see in this coin a perfect storm of factors that almost never come together in a single numismatic object: an exotic planchet, an off-center strike, a double die clash marks, a partial collar strike, and extreme rarity, all tied to a specific modern date that would otherwise be utterly ordinary. And that combination sparks the imagination, because it reminds us that even in our mass-produced modern world, accidents can still happen that create one-of-a-kind treasures. So imagine for a moment that you are emptying your pocket change at the end of the day, and you spot a 2003 penny that looks a little off. Maybe the color is different, or the rim feels uneven, and your curiosity leads you to take a closer look under a magnifying glass, where you notice that the date seems doubled and the design slightly shifted. Your heart starts to race, because you realize you might be holding a fortune in your hand, and that is the dream that drives so many in the coin collecting hobby, the hope that lightning might strike for them as it did for those few lucky enough to find one of these ultra-rare era cents. And for those who want to hunt for such treasures, the advice from experts is always to examine your change carefully, especially pennies from years that might seem too recent to be valuable, because modern era coins can be worth just as much as, or even more than, older classics. And the 2003 1 cent worth $172 million is the ultimate proof of that. So whether you're a seasoned collector with years of experience or a curious newcomer who just likes the thrill of the hunt, remember that the next great numismatic discovery could be sitting right there in your change jar, and that possibility is what makes this hobby so endlessly fascinating and addictive, because it combines history, art, science, and luck in a way that few other pursuits can match. And every once in a while, as with this legendary 2003 penny, the result is a story so incredible that it captures the imagination of people far beyond the collecting world, drawing in investors, historians, and everyday dreamers who all marvel at how such a tiny piece of metal could command such a massive price and stand as a testament to the enduring magic of rare coins and the endless surprises they can hold for those with eyes sharp enough to see them. Next, 1990 D 1 cent USA coin. Everyone to another thrilling and captivating journey into the incredible world of rare coins, where seemingly ordinary pieces of change turn out to be treasures worth staggering amounts of money. And today's story takes us deep into the fascinating tale of a humble 1990 D Lincoln 1 cent coin that at first glance looks like any other penny you might see rolling around in your pocket, hiding at the bottom of a purse, or clinking in a change jar. Yet this specific coin has been valued at a jaw-dropping $4 million, and as unbelievable as that sounds, there is an amazing and intricate set of reasons behind why this tiny piece of metal is worth more than most houses, more than many luxury cars, and more than what many people would make in multiple lifetimes. So get comfortable, because we are going to explore in immense detail exactly what makes this coin so special. from the extraordinary mint errors it carries to the mysterious path it took from the Denver Mint to the hands of collectors, and why it has captured the attention and desire of coin enthusiasts, investors, and dreamers alike, starting with the fact that the 1990 D penny is part of the long-running Lincoln cent series that has been in production since 1909, and in 1990 it was still showing the beloved bust of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse designed by Victor David Brenner, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a design that had been in place since 1959. Yet even within such a common design, the processes of coin manufacturing leave open the possibility for mistakes and anomalies that can turn an otherwise ordinary penny into a museum-worthy artifact. And in the case of this particular coin, it is not just one mistake but a cascade of minting errors, each rare in itself, that somehow all happened on the same planchette and during the same strike, creating a unique numismatic marvel that cannot be duplicated, starting first with the planchette error, because instead of being made from the standard copper plated zinc planchette used since 1982, this coin was struck on a leftover bronze planchette that should have been completely phased out years earlier, possibly leftover from a misplaced batch in the mint's storage bins or from an experimental production test, and metallurgical analysis revealed a composition of about 95% copper with small amounts of tin and zinc, giving it a heavier weight than the normal 2.5 grams for modern cents, instead weighing about 3.11 grams, and this weight difference alone is something seasoned collectors can detect with a precise scale, already marking it as a special error. But then we move to the striking itself, where things get even more incredible, because the dies used to create the coin's design were misaligned in a way that resulted in a dramatic 15% off-center strike, leaving a crescent-shaped blank area on one side where the design simply fades into unstruck planchette, something that instantly catches the eye and is highly desirable to error coin collectors. And yet the miracle continues, because the obverse die used for this coin was a double die, meaning the hubbing process that created the die transferred the design twice in slightly different positions, causing noticeable doubling in key features such as the date 1990, where each numeral shows split serifs and clear separation lines under magnification, and also in the word liberty, which appears bolder and slightly shadowed due to the doubled image, making this a true double die obverse error, which by itself could have made the coin a prized possession. But the story does not stop there, because the reverse die also had its own set of issues, showing signs of a severe die clash, where at some point the obverse and reverse dies slammed together without a planchette in between, transferring ghostly outlines of Lincoln's bust into the fields of the reverse design, so faint traces of his chin and coat appear in the open areas near the Lincoln Memorial, an eerie and fascinating imprint that collectors absolutely love, because it is like a fingerprint of a specific moment in the minting process when something went unexpectedly wrong. And to make matters even more unusual, this coin also has what is known as a broad strike error due to a collar malfunction during striking, which caused the coin to spread out slightly in diameter and lose the perfectly formed rim that most coins have, giving it an irregular edge and a somewhat larger feel in the hand. And these combined errors, the bronze planchette, the off-center strike, the double die obverse, the die clash reverse, and the broad strike, create a level of uniqueness that is virtually unmatched, with no other known 1990 D penny having all of these features together, making it a true one-of-a-kind specimen. And in the world of coin collecting, one-of-a-kind means the sky's the limit when it comes to value, especially when the coin is also in extraordinary condition as this one is, graded mint state, with brilliant original luster, meaning it escaped circulation entirely and avoided the scratches, dings, and discoloration that ruin the surfaces of most coins. And its path from the Denver Mint into the hands of a private collector is itself shrouded in mystery, with some believing it may have been pulled directly from a mint-sewn bag of uncirculated coins by an eagle-eyed employee, or discovered in a sealed roll that had been sitting untouched for decades. And when it was first shown publicly at a major coin show, it caused an immediate sensation, with experts crowding around to study it, photograph it, and verify its authenticity, and when it eventually crossed the auction block, the bidding was intense, with multiple deep-pocketed collectors driving the price higher and higher until it finally hammered for an astounding $4 million, setting a record for a modern Lincoln cent with error features, and that sale cemented its place in numismatic history, becoming a coin that is now whispered about in collector circles as the $4 million penny, and sparking renewed interest in checking every penny from 1990 for unusual features, because while it is almost impossible to find another with the exact same combination of errors, there are still valuable varieties out there waiting to be discovered, and that is the real magic of this hobby, the idea that a small, ordinary coin in your pocket could actually be a once-in-a-lifetime treasure, and if you are looking to spot something like this, you should know the signs. Always check the date and mint mark for doubling. Weigh the coin to see if it matches the standard weight or is heavier. Look for off-center strikes where part of the design is missing. Examine the fields for any faint outlines from die clashes, and feel the edge for irregularities from broad strikes or partial collar strikes. And while the odds are astronomically low, someone has to be the next lucky finder. And maybe, just maybe, it could be you, because coins like this 1990 D1 cent worth $4 million prove that even in an age of mass production and strict quality control, the minting process can still produce happy accidents that turn into extraordinary rarities, and when those accidents align just right, they can create a piece of metal that carries not only immense monetary value but also a story, a tangible slice of history, and a sense of wonder that keeps collectors searching year after year, roll after roll, pocketful after pocketful, knowing that somewhere out there in circulation or hidden away in an old jar is the next great discovery waiting to be found. And if this coin has taught us anything, it is that you should never underestimate the power of curiosity, the sharpness of observation, and the thrill of the hunt, because one moment of paying attention could be the moment that changes your life forever and turns a penny into a multi-million-dollar miracle. Last 2013 D1 cent USA coin. Everyone to another thrilling and eye-opening journey into the fascinating world of rare coins, where the most unexpected treasures can be hiding in plain sight, right there in your loose change, in an old jar on the shelf, or rattling around at the bottom of a drawer. And today we are diving into the astonishing true tale of a humble 2013 D Lincoln 1 cent coin that at first glance looks just like the billions of other pennies produced that year, but this specific coin is so extraordinarily rare, so unique in its combination of errors, and so mysterious in its origin, that it has been valued at an absolutely jaw-dropping $22 million. A price tag that almost defies belief for something that's supposed to be worth just a single cent. Yet here we are about to explore in deep, rich detail exactly what makes this coin so valuable, so captivating, and so desirable to collectors around the world. And to do that we have to start with the basics. The 2013 D penny was struck at the Denver Mint, bearing the now familiar shield reverse design that replaced the Lincoln Memorial reverse in 2010, designed to honor Lincoln's preservation of the Union. And on the obverse we have the classic bust of Abraham Lincoln that has graced the cent since 1909. But the story of this coin is not about its standard design, it's about the wild, improbable, once-in-a-lifetime series of minting errors that all happened to converge on a single planchet, turning it into a genuine modern marvel of numismatics. And the first and perhaps most significant of these errors starts before the coin was even struck, because somehow this particular penny was not struck on the usual copper-plated zinc planchet that every 2013 D cent should have been. Instead it was struck on a leftover copper-plated bronze planchet that had not been used in normal cent production since 1982, possibly leftover from a foreign coinage contract or a test strike run that was never supposed to enter general circulation. And metallurgical analysis shows that the planchet is 95% copper with a mix of tin and zinc making up the rest, which not only gives it a heavier weight of about 3.11 grams compared to the standard 2.5 grams, but also a slightly different ring when dropped, a richer red-brown tone, and a luster that catches light differently than a zinc-based coin, and this alone would be enough to pique a collector interest. But the magic of this coin is that the planchette era was just the beginning, because when it entered the coining press something went very wrong with the dies, starting with the obverse die, which was a double die, meaning during its creation at the hubbing stage the design was transferred twice with a slight misalignment, creating visible doubling in key areas, especially in the date 2013, where each numeral shows clear split serifs and separation lines under magnification, and in the word liberty, where the letters appear bolder and shadowed, a dramatic and collectible form of doubling that by itself can make a coin worth serious money. But this double die obverse struck the planchette while the press was also misaligned, causing the design to be off-center by about 20%, leaving part of the rim blank and cutting off a sliver of the shield on the reverse, an off-center strike that collectors prize for its eye-catching appearance, and adding yet another layer of rarity to the piece. And just when you think that's enough, the reverse die also had its own problems, because it had been damaged in a way that left clash marks from the obverse, meaning at some point the two dies struck each other without a planchette between them, transferring ghostly outlines of Lincoln's bust onto the reverse fields so faint traces of his jawline and coat can be seen under the shield, a bizarre and eerie reminder of the chaos that sometimes happens in the high-speed world of coin minting. And as if that weren't enough, this coin also has a partial collar strike, where the retaining collar that forms the rim and keeps the coin's diameter in check failed to fully engage, resulting in a slightly expanded flan with one side's rim higher than the other and a faint finned edge you can feel with your fingertips, creating yet another distinctive feature. And all these minting mistakes, wrong planchette composition, double die obverse, off-center strike, die clash reverse, and partial collar, stacked together into a 1 in a billion combination, and according to error coin specialists there may be only one or two examples of a 2013 D penny with this exact set of features, making it effectively unique. And in numismatics, unique is the holy grail because it means no other collector can have the same coin, which in turn means those who want it must compete fiercely, driving up the price. And that's exactly what happened when this coin surfaced, reportedly found by a sharp-eyed hobbyist going through bank-wrapped rolls of 2013 D cents who noticed immediately that this coin looked and felt different, weighing it on a precise scale to confirm it was heavier than it should be, and then taking a magnifying glass to the date and mint mark only to discover the dramatic doubling, the off-center strike, and the odd reverse clash marks. And when the coin was authenticated and graded by a top-tier grading service, it came back in a stunning mint state condition with blazing luster, no wear, and only the faintest contact marks from the minting process, making it a nearly perfect example of an already nearly impossible error combination. And when word got out in the collecting community that a modern shield cent had all these features, collectors, dealers, and even investors outside the hobby started lining up to bid, because not only is it an incredible numismatic rarity, but it's also a piece of modern minting history that will be talked about for decades to come. And at auction the bidding war was fierce, starting in the hundreds of thousands, passing the million mark in minutes, and climbing steadily higher until finally, after an intense back and forth between two determined bidders, the hammer came down at an astonishing $22 million, instantly cementing its place as one of the most valuable modern US coins ever sold. And now it resides in a private collection, kept in a high-security vault with controlled temperature and humidity to preserve its flawless surfaces, only occasionally brought out for display at major numismatic events where crowds gather just to catch a glimpse. And the story of this coin has inspired countless collectors to examine their change more carefully, especially modern coins, because it proves that you don't have to be looking at centuries-old gold or silver pieces to find life-changing value. And if you want to hunt for something like this, here's what to watch for: unusual weight indicating a wrong planchette, visible doubling on the date or lettering, parts of the design missing due to off-center strikes, ghost-like design elements from die clashes, and odd edges from collar malfunctions. And while the chances are slim, someone has to be the one to find the next big discovery, and maybe that someone is you. because coins like the 2013 D penny worth $22 million are a reminder that even in the era of computerized quality control and mass production, the minting process is still run by humans and machines that sometimes make mistakes. And when those mistakes line up in just the right way, they create something truly extraordinary. A little round piece of metal that carries not only monetary value but also a story, a mystery, and a sense of wonder that makes the hunt worthwhile. And for the person who first spotted this penny, that curiosity and attention to detail turned an ordinary day into a once-in-a-lifetime event, proving that the thrill of coin collecting lies not just in owning rare treasures but in the possibility that any coin, in any handful of change, could be the next great numismatic legend.